Hello, Sober Army. How are you? This is Craig Beck from StopDrinkingExpert.com and the author of Alcohol Lied to Me. It's been a while, hasn't it? So I thought I would jump on for half an hour and answer any questions that you might have and just share some observations. So feel free to say hello and drop your comments below. If you're watching on YouTube, I think, in fact, YouTube might be the only place where this is streaming at the moment because Facebook didn't like it and it complained a lot. So say hello so I know the comments are working, and we'll see what we can do. Basically, I'll stay as long as you need me to. It's working. Look, Meredith has just said hello. Hi, Craig. Hi, Meredith. Thank you very much. I'll stay as long as you need. If you've got any questions, so if you're starting this journey, if you're planning to get sober, or you've taken your first step and you want some help, or if you've hit a roadblock, or if you've got a challenge coming up or something like that, or whatever, you can ask me anything. It doesn't have to be about alcohol. It can be about anything at all. All right. I will talk about anything. Who else we got here? Marina, good to see you. Thank you, Marina, and welcome. Hi, Kez. Good to have you here as well. I've been traveling quite a bit recently, so I've not been making as many videos. But I have been noticing alcohol in airports a bit more. And it really fascinates me. And it seems like the elephant in the room that we don't talk about. Nobody questions it. It's weird. I had an early morning flight the other day, 2 days ago. I flew from London Heathrow to Larnaca, Cyprus. And I was in the British Airways Gold Lounge. If you know it, you know it. And I think I got there for 5 o'clock in the morning. So my taxi came at like 4:30. I was at the airport for 5 o'clock. And it just seems strange seeing people drinking whiskey and like nobody comments. Even in your own home, if you got up in the morning, you came downstairs and your husband or wife was sitting at the breakfast table at 5 in the morning and you poured yourself a whiskey, I'm pretty sure that would be a big deal. I'm pretty sure there would be a conversation to be had, wouldn't there? One of the people in that room would be saying, excuse me, what is going on? It's 5 o'clock in the morning and you're having cornflakes and whiskey. And yet when we go into an airport for some reason, nobody even talks about it. And they have a bar that's open and you can go up to it and order a cocktail. You can order a pint of whiskey if you want. And nobody looks at their watch and goes, really? It's bizarre to me. So why is that? Why do you think that is? That's what I want to know. Why are airports this kind of alternate reality where normal rules don't apply? And it seems to me that especially in sort of like business class lounges, people try and drink as much as they can, regardless of the time of the day, because they want to get good value, even as though when they land in their destination, they're going to feel terrible as a result of what they've done. I sit there in the lounge kind of scratching my head, going, well, I don't get it. Mind you, back when I was a big drinker, I used to do exactly that. Anyway, let's say hello to a few people. We'll come back to you, Meredith, in a moment. Let's P Masters. That's not true. P Masters says, I think it's because it could be your last flight if the plane crashes, etc. That's the sort of thing a drinker would say, though. If you had like a friend with you who was a bit of a problem drinker and it's 5 in the morning and they poured themselves a gin and tonic and you said to them, hang on a minute, if a gin and tonic at 5 in the morning, they'd say something like, oh, well, if this is going to be my last one, I'm going to enjoy it. Or, did you see that Air India flight? Could happen to me. So, I want to have an anesthetic before I go down. It's nonsense. It's the same sort of mantra that comes out of people who, when you question them about their smoking, they say, well, I'll live a shorter life, but a better life. It sounds good, but it's just nonsense, isn't it? In Canada, they're going to increase their last call or they already have, I mean. How do you mean, Richard? I don't know what you mean. Increase the last call? What, get you to the gate sooner or later? Because this is the big dilemma, isn't it? Why, last week there were 2 alcohol-related incidents on UK airlines. One was a Jet2 flight flying from Manchester, England to actually Larnaca, Cyprus. And halfway through the flight, when they were over Germany, some woman had drank so much, she just went crazy and started attacking everyone, punching everyone, attacking the flight attendants. We don't know the full story, but it's pretty obvious what happened. She drank at the airport. She continued drinking on the plane, and she just went crazy. And they had to land the plane in Germany and kick her off it. So, the question lingers, why do airlines continue to serve alcohol? And the answer, of course, is twofold. One, they make a lot of money. I mean, a ton of money selling alcohol. That's a huge markup. I mean, if restaurants weren't allowed to sell alcohol, they'd go bust. That's what keeps them afloat. So airlines are not going to turn down the money, even if it does cause inconvenience to their other passengers. And two, it's a PR disaster. It's like, why don't governments ban alcohol if it kills 3 million people every year? Well, because if you're the politician that bans alcohol, that's the end of your political career. Nobody's going to vote for you in the next election because you've just denied drug addicts their favorite drug. Everyone now hates you. And it's actually better for politicians to have the populace mildly sedated, because then they don't have their full intellect available. And politicians, and let's be honest, politicians are absolutely useless. They swing from utterly contemptible and being corrupt to being completely incompetent. Some of the British politicians at the moment have managed skillfully to tick both boxes. They are terribly corrupt and hopelessly incompetent at the same time. It's quite impressive. So actually politicians want the nation to be sedated, because a sedated nation doesn't scrutinize their corruption too closely. So that's part of the reason anyway. All right, Meredith, I'm going to jump back to your question because it's a good one. And Meredith St. Andre, any advice for quitting when my live-in partner drinks? That's the toughest subject. Now, it's the second toughest subject I've dealt with in this process, Meredith. The first one is, how do I get my partner to stop drinking? That's the hardest challenge, because it's, quite frankly, virtually impossible unless they want to. As far as I know, there is no way to strong-arm someone into sobriety. And it's quite shocking how much drinkers are prepared to lose in order to preserve their addiction. You see this with guys a lot. Their wife has said to them, look, if you carry on drinking, I'm divorcing you. You'll lose the house. You'll lose access to your kids. You're going to lose everything. And even that is not enough to stop them. That's how strongly this drug has got a hold of them. So how do you deal with a live-in partner who drinks? Is a tough one, but you've just, for once, you've just got to put yourself first. Normally in a relationship, the best relationships are when each party is working to make the other person's life better. When you have two selfish people in a relationship, it generally ends up in divorce, because you both want different things. You're both aiming for different targets. When you have a more mature and established relationship where you're both focused on each other's wants and needs, then you've got a better chance at it, haven't you? And so if you're in a very good relationship, Meredith, then you have to be a little bit selfish in this case, because this is about you. And even if your partner wanted to do it with you, they wanted to stop at the same time, you're still going to go through this process on your own. It's still going to be a tightrope walk, as I call it. A tightrope walk is always done on your own. Someone can follow behind you, someone can go ahead of you, but nobody can do it with you. And so you have to get into this kind of like tunnel visioned, almost semi-selfish attitude towards it. But let's not give it more power than it needs here, right? Look, you want to quit drinking. So you get focused on that and you commit to it. And it becomes something that's really important to you. and you get passionate about it, and it becomes like this really important project you're working on. But that's no different than something else. Let's say you wanted to learn Spanish and your partner didn't. In fact, your partner hates Spanish people. You live with a massive racist. You'd still learn Spanish, wouldn't you? You wouldn't go, oh, well, that's it. I can't learn Spanish now. You'd just find a way to do it, wouldn't you? You'd practice when he wasn't around or she wasn't around. You'd go off to night school. You'd get out of the house and do it. And you'd find a way to do it if it was important to you. And that's your mentality around quitting drinking. And if you go through the course, then willpower doesn't come into it. But you don't have to white knuckle this. You don't have to look at your partner going, oh, I wish I could drink that stuff. If you go through the course in the correct order, you get to the point where you feel just disgust for the substance. So you look at someone else drinking it and you think, ugh, I wouldn't want to do that. And then it's not, the only problem you run into is if your partner sees your quitting drinking as a threat to their own habit. And they try and push you back into drinking because it's making them feel uncomfortable. And in that case, knowledge is power. Understand what's really going on. Even if they say harsh things to you, like you've changed, you're not as much fun as you used to be, understand what's really going on. Your raising your standards has highlighted their low standards. You have indirectly caused them some psychological pain. Now, they won't label it as that. They won't go, oh, Meredith's causing me psychological pain. They'll just know they feel uncomfortable. They feel like they can't relax, and they'll know you're responsible for it. And so they'll try and push you back into drinking because that's much easier than them confronting their own problems with alcohol. So knowledge is power. And it's like I explained, it's like learning how a magic trick is done. You can watch a magic trick and be amazed by it and call it magic. You can say magic just happened up until the point that someone tells you how it was done. And from that point forward, it can no longer ever be described as magic. It's a piece of theater. It's a trick. And you can never fall for it again. You can't unlearn what you've learned. You could see that magic trick performed in 20 years' time, and you still wouldn't fall for it because you know how it works. And it's the same is true with alcohol. At the moment, if you're a drinker, you believe a lot of things about alcohol that simply aren't true. It helps me relax. It helps me socialize. It helps me cope with the stress and strain of life. All of that is bullshit. All of that is nonsense. And in the course and in the book, I talk you through this process and show you why and how it's nonsense. So once you have the knowledge, regardless of what your partner thinks, once you have the knowledge, you can continue to drink, but you just can't justify it anymore. You can't lie to yourself anymore and get away with it, essentially, which is the silver bullet of why the course works, I think. I hope that helps. Let's have a look. Lots of people I've missed. Oh, here we go. Richard's clarified his earlier point. Okay, later time in bars and restaurants. So in Canada, they're calling people to the gate later to give them more chance to drink. I can't see any problem with that. Can you? I can't see any problems arising from that policy. The problem is, it's the guys on the ground who are going to suffer, isn't it? It's the girls at at the gates who are going to be dealing with drunk, angry passengers who've just missed their flight. It's some accountant in a boardroom somewhere, sitting with a little book of numbers going, well, if we delay boarding by another 5 minutes, we make an extra $4 million every year. Let's do that, regardless of the consequences. Don't you hate people sometimes? Anyway, thank you for clarifying, Richard. Serenable. I drink 30 cans of beer a week. I'm 50. 30 cans of beer a week. Okay. And the black bags under my eyes look bad. Yeah. Okay. I don't know what the solution to your black bags are. Maybe stop drinking the poison. Look, I'm 51. And my hair gets grayer by the day, I think. And these wrinkles get deeper, and my neck looks like an old person's neck now. So getting old is getting old, and some things are just not going to repair, are they? But certainly drinking 30 cans of diluted poison every week of the year is a surefire way to accelerate your march towards the grave. That's the harsh reality of it. If you continue drinking that volume of diluted poison, you will die probably around 10 to 12 years earlier than you were supposed to. And what time you do have left on earth will be full of ill health and problems. So, a lot of people come to me for coaching and they think that they have a choice. They think they think that there's a choice here, that you carry on drinking or you don't carry, or you stop, you get sober. Actually, there isn't really a choice, because the difference in the Y junction is so stark, is so dramatic, that there isn't really any choice at all. If you think about it, if you come to me with the question, Craig, should I stop drinking? To me, it sounds like, Craig, I'm drinking poison every day. Do you think I should stop or cut down? Or am I okay to carry on? There's no answer to that question other than, please stop drinking the poison. Because any path that involves you continuing to drink poison on a daily basis is going to cause misery, not for you. The biggest part of the misery you won't be aware of, but it's going to cause misery to people you love, to your children, to your husband, to your wife, to your mother, your father, all your friends. And that's not a good thing to take with you. Anyway, enough preaching. You'll do what you want to do. Serenable, I agree. Politicians are absolutely corrupt. Yeah, can we just have a moment to send our absolute worst thoughts to politicians for being absolutely awful and terrible? Don't get me started on the state of the UK at the moment. Oh my God. I'm a Brit. I am so ashamed of the state of the United Kingdom. Keir Starmer, I mean, I think I've passed better politicians at my backside than he is. Anyway, you got me started. JC Vastgold. If I stop drinking, can I start smoking? You're not an expert in that, are you? No, but my good friend Mark Keane is an expert in stopping smoking. He will help you out. Of course you can. You can start now if you want. You can do anything you want. That's the point, isn't it? That's the point. It's, I often make this analogy, this comparison that people sometimes get upset about is, a lot of people, most people say they drink to relax. And I always say to them, well, if you're drinking alcohol to relax, why don't you use heroin? It's much better. It's a much better drug. You'll feel much more relaxed, like 100 times more relaxed. Why don't you use heroin? Now, I'm not advocating for heroin. I'm just making the point that your programming, your belief systems and structures are perfectly aligned around heroin. No part of you wants to put that into your body or into your life because you think it would be a very bad decision. And you're right. But for some reason, you have corrupted programming. You have a broken belief system around alcohol. And for some reason, you believe a highly addictive substance that causes anxiety as a withdrawal side effect helps you to relax. You're looking at black and calling it white. So I guess you're being funny here, but yeah, you can smoke if you want, you can drink if you want, you can do heroin if you want. It's all your choice. But the whole point of my course and my thesis on alcohol is, if you're going to drink, understand that it's not your choice. You're not doing it because you genuinely think it helps you relax. You're doing it because the drug is making you dance like a little puppet. It's, this is not a harmless social pleasantry. This is not a little liquid that helps us relax at a party and talk to people. This is a highly addictive substance that kills 3 million people every year. Vivek Singh, I always need to have 2 or 3 drinks before going on a client call. And unfortunately, it helps. I'm ashamed of this, but can't help. By the way, this, just in case anyone, this is non-alcoholic beer that I'm drinking here. Wouldn't that be terrible if I was doing a a live feed and drinking a can of Carlsberg or something. All right, let's dissect this. This is the kind of this is why guys need a drink before they go up to a girl in a nightclub, isn't it? And I've talked about this before. Guys go to nightclubs and they see beautiful women and they desperately want to talk to them. But guys are so scared of rejection. In fact, they're more scared of rejection from a girl than anything else. It just crushes them. So they're so scared of rejection, they have to have a few beers before they go over and speak to her. Now, what the beer does is we incorrectly label it. We say it's Dutch courage. We say the beer has given us confidence, given us courage. It hasn't. It's just made us more stupid. It's reduced our intellect by about 30%. So because we've got a weaker brain than we're entitled to, we are now not very good at doing risk assessments. We're less cautious. We jump in and take risks, where in our sober state, we would have done a risk assessment and gone, no, not doing this. So it's not that alcohol gives you courage. It's that it makes you stupid. All right. So the guy goes over to the girl. Now he's had 3 or 4 pints of beer and he tries to chat her up and she rejects him. Why? Because this stupid, bumbling caveman has just come over, slurred and spat all over her, and is the least attractive man in the room. If he'd gone over sober with confidence, he might have got her number. He might have got a date. But because he drank the stupid juice, he got nothing. So why do you feel like your client calls go better when you've had 2 or 3 drinks? And the answer is probably, it's down to that risk assessment. And it's that I mean, look, show me the richest people on planet Earth, right? And I'll show you people who've made huge risks, who've taken huge risks. They've probably made massive mistakes. They've probably nearly lost it all. I'm not talking about people who inherited their wealth. I'm talking about people who came from nothing and became millionaires and billionaires. They became millionaires and billionaires by making high-risk decisions and banking on themselves, going into situations where it's do or die, sink or swim. And they got away with it and they became wealthy. Nobody gets rich from getting a 9-to-5 job and working from the age of 18 to 65. And that's not how you get rich. So the chances are you're taking more risk when you've had a few drinks and you're putting yourself into situations that you wouldn't dare do when you're sober. So short term, that might work a little bit. But don't forget, you're now 30% less intelligent as well. So you're going to lose sales because some people are going to think this guy's an idiot, or this he sounds drunk, or this guy doesn't know his stuff. Because whether you like it or not, you are not as intelligent as you're supposed to be. So that's the first thing. The second thing is tolerance. Give it another couple of years, Vivek, and 2 or 3 drinks isn't going to cut it. 2 or 3 drinks is not even going to touch the sides. So you're going to need 3 to 6 drinks. You're going to need a quarter bottle of vodka or a half bottle of vodka before you get the same sensation that you got from 2 or 3 drinks now. So now you're going into client calls having drank half a bottle of vodka. Do you see where this ends? Do you see how this cannot end anywhere but a car crash? Well, I mean, literally and metaphorically. So look, you got to think more long-term, Vivek. You know, and I'll throw you back to my analogy of the loan shark. Using alcohol for this purpose that you're using it for is like using a loan shark to deal with your debt problem. It works in the short term, but in the long term, you just screw yourself royally. Starting drinking just listening to that. Yeah, I believe you, actually. Here we go. Sloth ape with some serious tattoo. Is that tattoo? I can't work out what the picture is. Anyway, I finally managed to quit. 500 days next week. Your videos played a key part. Thank you. Wow, 500 days. That's good going. And I like that you waited before you declared that, it's done. where are you? 500 days. So you're like 18 months, aren't you? Something like that. Just watch out for that trapdoor that comes up 1 year to 18 months. It very frequently, people who quit using my course or my book, having tried multiple times to quit on their own previously, after about 1 year, after about 18 months, there is this trapdoor where, and it's normally at a social occasion, you'll be at a wedding and there's free champagne going around, and you'll start thinking, hang on a minute, it was awfully easy to quit drinking. I just did it one day. I read that book and then I quit drinking. And you'll conclude rather stupidly that you didn't have a problem at all. You'll think, maybe I didn't even have a drinking problem. Maybe I can just have a social drink. And you'll take that glass of champagne, and do you know what happens next? It's not what you expect. You'll have that glass of champagne, and you'll drink it, and you won't like it. You'll go, ugh, tastes like vinegar. Ugh, horrible. And that will give you even more confidence that you don't have a problem. And you'll think, well, I don't even like this stuff, so I can just have one to be sociable now. And trust me, very soon, within days and weeks, you will be back at the same level of drinking you were the day before you quit. I've seen it happen hundreds of times in exactly that order. And I can put it in a flow chart for you. Belief that you didn't have a problem. First drink, didn't like that. Second drink, oh, it's okay, I can drink. Back in the loop. And then it will take you months to get out of the loop. So congratulations, Sloth Ape, whatever the name is. You've done awesome. Just keep your wits about you. I'm going to stay on here. How long have I been here? Where does it say? 27 minutes. I'll stay as long as you need me to. If you've got any questions, fire them up now. Marion Gabachia. Apologies if I got that wrong. I probably have. My wife is from Bucharest, so I'm no doubt she will tell me immediately I've got it wrong. Greetings from Romania. I've been sober since January 1st, 2025, even during the holidays for the first time. Congratulations. Absolutely fantastic. And how do you feel, Marion? Tell me what's changed. Give me 3 things that have really changed in your life. Because as I keep saying to people, this process is not about quitting drinking. It's about falling in love with sobriety. Because one is about giving something up, and the second is about gaining something. And it might seem like a small point, but if you have to give up something, you will grieve it, even if it's bad for you. It's like if the doctor said to you, you can never have chocolate again. You would grieve for chocolate. You would feel terribly put out and left out, and you would think it was awfully unfair. But if you decided that your blood sugar felt better and your energy levels were better when you didn't eat chocolate, so you just decided you weren't going to eat chocolate again, it wouldn't bother you. It would be your decision. Richard, my coworker was telling me you can have a couple of drinks. And I got offended just by his words and told him never, even one drink, or I'm back drinking again. Yeah. Offended? I suppose you could be offended by it, but yeah, because look, that's the inside-outside thinking, isn't it? People who don't have a problem with alcohol can't really appreciate how it feels. And equally, people who do have a problem with alcohol and are still drinking have blocked out the truth. They say things like that, genuinely meaning it. It's not like they're Pinocchio and their nose should be growing. When they say things like that, they genuinely mean it because they've bought their own BS. And people who don't have a problem with alcohol just don't understand. To them, it's just not an issue. To them, it's like popcorn, fancy some popcorn, but I don't have to eat popcorn every day. That's their mentality. The truth is, Richard, and you're quite right here, you only get to decide on the first drink anyway. Every other drink after the first one will not be your decision. So it's not true that you can just have one drink, because it doesn't matter how committed to your goals you are. It doesn't matter how committed to your sobriety you are. After you get that poison into your bloodstream, the clown will take over. He will make the next decision. And so you're quite right to fight back against that, because if you'd had just one drink, I'm relatively certain you would have had another one either immediately or a few days later. It would have played on your subconscious mind and you would have been back drinking. So good call. All right, look, just wanted to talk about one more thing and then I'm going to wrap up. And that is a question I get asked quite a lot is, how come if alcohol is highly addictive, everyone doesn't get addicted to it? How come some people can drink and get away with it and not get addicted? And that's a great question, isn't it? And the answer, I think, is probably down to genetics and down to trauma and various things. And it's not so easy to point at one thing, but you have to understand that for some people, alcohol just doesn't affect them the same way. For a lot of people, like you and me probably, when we drink alcohol, our dopamine receptors light up like a Christmas tree. Ooh, I like that. Oh, that feels good. I want more of that feeling. Well, some people that doesn't happen. So for them, they never really learn to get past the fact that it tastes disgusting. And that's that you can't really argue against that. You know, when you had a first sneaky sip of your dad's whiskey when you were 6 years old, it tasted revolting, didn't it? You nearly spat it out all over the place. It was revolting. Nothing changed. You know, now that you're 25, you're 35 or 45 and you drink whiskey, nothing's changed. It's just that you've become accustomed to the horrible taste. And you've learned to see black as white, and now you call the horrible taste peaty. Oh, that's got a very strong peaty flavor to it. What, you mean it tastes like a horse's arse? Yes. So for those people, there's the people who don't get a dopamine response from the alcohol, there's no real incentive for them to push past the horribleness. So they don't. And alcohol remains this thing that they have at a party. Oh, go on then. But it never really excites them. So they drink it and go, yeah, it's all right. Yeah. And to them, they can't understand why you're so obsessed with it. They don't know what the fascination is. And for another thing is, you know, for introverted people, and I count myself in this, and I know you think there's no way you're an introvert, Craig. I am an introvert. I'm an introverted extrovert in that I can turn it on when I want to because I'm a broadcaster by, you know, profession. But my default is to be on my own. My default position is always to be on my own. And introverts tend to have powerful brains that come with a blessing and a curse. The blessing is they're incredibly powerful. They can come up with very creative stuff. They can do amazing things. The curse is it never stops, never gives you a break. So you spend your nights plotting disasters and getting anxiety attacks and all this sort of nonsense that comes with this overpowerful, under-entertained brain. And at some point, we discover that the anesthetic gives us peace from the noise. We drink the alcohol, the noisy brain loses 30% of its power, and we go, oh, that feels good. Well, a lot of people don't have that problem, don't have that gift, don't have that curse, and they don't really understand how that feels. But I'd say for probably 80% of the people I speak to, they're coming at me from that situation. They're introverted with powerful brains, and at some point alcohol gave them peace. But again, the price you're going to pay for that peace is torturously high. It's a very bad deal. Very, very bad deal. Vaughn. It's been a while since the last live stream. It has, Vaughn. I apologize. Keep these coming. I'll do my best. Marion, I was just a binge drinker, only holidays and weekends, but ruined my health for life. I have to take statins for dyslipidemia and medicine for psoriasis for the rest of my life. I'm happy to be sober. Yeah. You know, how long did you say you've been sober for? Since January. Look, you know, give it a bit more time and you might, you know, work with your doctors on this. You might not need so much medication. all the way through my 30s, I was always borderline hypertensive. I was hypertension stage 1 all the way through my 30s. I was always at the doctors, and they were always like, well, we could give you some medication, but let's try and fix this with lifestyle adjustment. Just go on a diet and reduce the alcohol. And I always used to leave the doctors thinking, yeah, that's not going to happen. So every year the doctor would say, you just need to lose a bit of weight and stop drinking so much. And I'd leave going, yeah, no, I'm not doing that. So I had hypertension all the way through my 30s. And then I think like 2 or 3 months after I quit drinking, I went to the doctor, expected to get the same rollicking from the doctor, and my blood pressure was perfect, absolutely perfect. So keep an eye on your numbers, go and get tested, and see what removing the poison from your life actually does. You might not need as much medication as you previously were on, but like I said, work with your doctor on that. Vivek, thanks, Crave. Started listening to your book from yesterday and would complete it by the weekend. Really want this poison out of my life. Good call, Vivek. And just keep the information coming in, keep the good stuff coming in. There's loads of good books out there now. Alcohol Explained by William Porter, very good. Kick the Drink by Jason Vale, very good. Lots of good stuff that'll give you the information and help reprogram your brain. There's one by a guy called Dr. David Nutt. It's just called Drink! ! And it's very unpreachy. He doesn't at any point tell you to stop drinking. He just explains what alcohol does to your body. And he even tells you, I still drink. He says, I still drink a little bit, not a lot. So he's not coming from an ivory tower telling you you're a terrible person. He just gives you the pure science behind alcohol, and it's absolutely fascinating. Dr. David Nutt, Drink. All right. Rennie, rule number 1, what are the pros and cons? What do you mean, Renee? About what? Pros and cons of what? Quitting drinking? There are no cons. Absolutely no cons. I think you meant something else. All right, look, I'm going to wrap up there. That's what, 38 minutes? I think that'll do. I think you've had enough of me, haven't you? If you have any other questions, please put them in the comments below and I will get back to you on them, or email me via the website, stopdrinkingexpert.com. If you are worried about your drinking, then go to the website, stopdrinkingexpert.com, and you can download a free copy of my best-selling book, Alcohol Lied to Me, at no charge. And then you can decide if you want to do the course as well. All right. Thanks a lot for watching. See you soon.